The stars shone like scattered diamonds across the black canvas of space. In the distance, the human exploration ship HSS Pioneer glided silently, its engines humming a low, steady tune. Captain Lena Harris stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic map in front of her. The Pioneer had been assigned to chart an unclaimed sector on the edge of human-explored space. Nothing extraordinary had happened for months. The crew had grown used to the quiet, almost too used to it. "Captain," said Lieutenant Amir Castillo, the ship's navigator, "we've detected a large object ahead. It's old, very old." Lena moved closer to the screen. The object was massive, drifting in the void like a forgotten relic. Its design was alien, unlike anything in the human database. Its hull was black, matte, and marked with strange angular patterns. "What do you make of it?" Lena asked, her voice calm but curious. "We don't know," Amir admitted. "It's not transmitting any signals. No active systems, just floating." Lena nodded slowly. Curiosity had always been humanity's greatest strength and perhaps its greatest danger. "Prepare a boarding team," she ordered. "I want to know what we're looking at." Within minutes, a small crew suited up and entered the shuttle. Among them was engineer Ravi Singh, who had a reputation for tinkering with alien tech, and Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the communications expert, who could decode almost anything. The rest of the crew consisted of soldiers and scientists, all ready for a simple scouting mission. As the shuttle approached the derelict vessel, the crew could see that it was enormous, easily twice the size of the Pioneer. Its surface was scarred with battle damage, but it seemed intact. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its hull, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is incredible," Ravi murmured, examining the shuttle's sensors. "It hasn't moved in centuries, but the hull is almost indestructible. Whoever built this, they were not human." Sarah's eyes widened. "We should be careful. This could belong to the Ricari." At the mention of the name, Lena paused. The Ricari were a species known across multiple galaxies for their ruthless efficiency and deadly precision. No one wanted a conflict with them, not now, not ever. "Then all the more reason to be cautious," Lena said. "We're here to observe, not provoke." The boarding party docked and the hatch opened with a groan. The interior was dark, corridors long and narrow, walls covered with the same strange symbols from outside. The air was thick with the dust of centuries. "Looks abandoned," whispered one of the soldiers. "Feels like a graveyard." "Stay alert," Lena warned. "We don't know what's alive in here." They explored carefully, recording data, taking samples, and examining control panels that seemed frozen in time. Then, they found the central chamber. In its center stood a massive console, covered with alien inscriptions and glowing faintly. Ravi approached it with excitement. "This could be a command core. Maybe we can access the ship's logs." "Do it carefully," Lena said. "We can't risk triggering anything dangerous." Ravi's fingers danced across the alien interface. Surprisingly, the console responded. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing star maps, weapon schematics, and fleets. The crew watched in awe. "This is a treasure trove," Ravi said. "We might be able to learn their technology, understand their history." Suddenly, the console beeped loudly. A holographic symbol projected from it, bright, sharp, and pulsating. Then a loud tone echoed through the chamber, vibrating through the walls of the ship. "Did you do something?" Sarah shouted, shielding her ears. I don't think so," Ravi stammered. "I just accessed the logs." Lena's stomach sank. Something had changed. Somewhere far away, sensors on the Pioneer began to pick up a faint signal. It was spreading fast, leaving the derelict ship and moving across space like a flare. "We need to leave." "Now," Zelina ordered. The crew rushed back to the shuttle. As they undocked, the derelict ship's console activated one final time, sending a pulse that raced across the galaxy. Lena watched in silence, a feeling of dread growing in her chest. Back on the Pioneer, the crew attempted to analyze what had happened. "It looks like a beacon," Sarah said. "Something meant to alert their home system. Whoever owns this ship, they will know someone has entered it." Amir shook his head. "The Ricari don't forget. They don't forgive. They only respond. And I think they will respond." Lena sat down heavily in her captain's chair. "How fast?" "Too fast," Amir replied. "We're in their territory and we've just made a mistake." "A huge one." Ravi looked up. "Mistake? We just found a piece of history. This could change humanity's understanding of the galaxy." "Yes," Lena said slowly. But we also just declared war on the deadliest species in known space, without firing a single shot. The crew fell silent. Outside the observation window, stars continued to pass by, serene and indifferent. But Lena knew the calm would not last. Somewhere, far across the void, the Vrikari had noticed. Somewhere, a deadly race was preparing to respond. Over the next hours, the Pioneer crew tried to prepare. They sent coded messages back to Earth and human colonies requesting advice and reinforcements. But transmission times meant their pleas would take days, maybe weeks, to reach home. "We have to rely on ourselves," Lena said, voice firm. "We cannot wait. We cannot panic. We must act smart." The ship's AI, Orion, displayed tactical simulations on the main screen. "Captain, based on Vrikari fleet speed and standard response protocols, they could reach our location within 48 hours. "Then we have 2 days, Lena said. She turned to her crew. "We prepare defenses. We prepare strategies. And we prepare for what comes next. No one else will fight for us in this part of the galaxy." Ravi's mind raced. "Captain, maybe we can use the derelict ship's tech. Even partially, it could give us an edge." "Yes," Lena said. "And even if it doesn't, we will find another way. That's what humans do." The crew worked tirelessly, modifying ship systems, running simulations, and preparing contingency plans. There was tension, but also a quiet excitement, the kind that only comes when a species realizes it may finally be seen, feared, and respected. As night fell on the Pioneer's observation deck, Lena looked out into the void. Somewhere out there, the Vrikari were moving. Somewhere, a deadly fleet was being assembled in response to humanity's curiosity. But Lena smiled faintly. "Let them come," she whispered. "They have no idea what humans are capable of." The stars glittered cold and distant, but for the first time, humanity had a presence in the wider galaxy, a presence that could not be ignored. And the Vrikari would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated. The Pioneer drifted quietly in the uncharted sector, but the crew's minds were anything but calm. The realization that humanity had triggered the attention of the Vrikari, the deadliest race in the galaxy, weighed heavily on them. The derelict ship's accidental beacon was still sending pulses into the void, and somewhere far away it was being received. Captain Lena Harris paced the bridge. The crew worked at their stations, running calculations, simulations, and scans of nearby systems. "We need to understand them," Lena said, stopping to look at Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "Before they arrive, we need to know how they think, how they fight." Sarah nodded. Scrolling through data she had managed to decode from the derelict ship. "The Vrikari are nothing like us," she said. "They are precise, disciplined, and extremely intelligent. They don't act on emotion. They act on logic, and logic in their eyes means efficiency." Ravi, the chief engineer, looked up from the console. "If that's true, then our best weapon isn't firepower. It's thinking differently. They expect everyone to follow predictable patterns. Humans don't do that." Lena smiled faintly. "Good, then let's make sure they never can." The first sign of the Vrikari response came quietly. Sensors on the Pioneer picked up a faint, high-speed signal moving toward them. It wasn't a weapon, but a scout. Lena squinted at the screen. "They're close," Amir Castillo said, his voice tense. "And this is just a probe. The main fleet could be days away, but this little thing is fast." Lena nodded. "Keep us hidden for now. Let's see what it's doing." The scout moved in patterns around the Pioneer's location, scanning, analyzing, and trying to determine the ship's strength. Humans had never encountered such subtlety before. The Vrikari did not attack first. They studied, calculated, and chose the perfect moment to strike. "Captain," Sarah said, frowning at the displays. "The probe is curious. It isn't hostile yet. It's testing us. I think they want to see how we respond." "That's dangerous," Lena said. "If we make a mistake, it could alert the rest of the fleet." Ravi leaned over the console. "Or we can use it. If we act unpredictable, we can confuse them. Make them underestimate us. That could give us time." Lena thought for a moment. Then she nodded. "Do it. Let's see how clever humans can be." The crew prepared a series of maneuvers designed to trick the Vrikari scout. They activated decoy drones, moved in unusual patterns, and even used holographic projections to create phantom ships. The scout followed, scanning and calculating, but each time it thought it had the Pioneer's position, the ship was already somewhere else. Ravi watched, impressed. "They don't know what to make of this. Every time they think they understand us, we change the game." Lena's lips curved into a small smile. Exactly. Humans are unpredictable. Let's keep it that way. The maneuvering continued for hours. The Pioneer's crew worked in perfect coordination, testing the limits of their ship and their own creativity. Slowly, they began to see a pattern. The Ricari were cautious, almost hesitant. They respected skill and intelligence. If humans could show them cleverness, perhaps the first encounter wouldn't be disastrous. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Ricari High Command received the signal from the derelict ship. Their leader, a tall, angular being named Zelthar, studied the incoming data with cold, calculating eyes. "They are humans," Zelthar said, his voice a low hum that echoed through the command chamber. "They have entered a derelict ship in our space. They are alive," another officer hissed. "Shall we destroy them, High Commander?" Zelthar shook his head. "Not yet. Observe, study. Let us understand this species. They are unusual." Unusual was a word rarely used by the Ricari. Their species had encountered thousands of intelligent civilizations, most of which were predictable and controllable. Humans were different, bold, curious, and reckless, but in a way that made them dangerous. Back on the Pioneer, Lena convened a meeting in the conference room. The crew gathered, tense but determined. "We have 2 days," Lena said, pointing at the star map. 2 days before they reach our sector. 2 days to prepare. We can't fight them head-on. They are too powerful. But we can fight smart. Sarah leaned forward. Their communication logs suggest they respond to logic and efficiency. If we act clever, they will hesitate. If we act brave, they will respect us. They don't fight for revenge unless provoked logically. Ravi added, "We also have something they don't: adaptability. We can think in ways they can't predict. We can improvise, change strategies mid-battle. That gives us an edge," Lena nodded. "Good, I want proposals. Everything we can do to make ourselves untouchable without destroying lives. Decoys, maneuvers, AI simulations, everything. Human brains can outthink alien precision if we work together." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Crew members ran simulations, built improvised drones, and experimented with holographic projections. The Pioneer's AI, Orion, worked alongside them, analyzing Ricari protocols and predicting responses to human actions. Amir studied sensor patterns. "The scout is still nearby, watching, waiting. They're trying to figure us out. We can't make a mistake now." Ravi grinned. "Mistakes are opportunities in disguise. If we act boldly but smartly, they might even respect us or at least hesitate." Sarah rolled her eyes, half amused. "Let's not give them a reason to admire us too much. We still want to survive." Lena's gaze moved to the observation window where the stars stretched endlessly. "Survival is one thing, but humanity isn't here just to survive. We are here to make them think twice before underestimating us." That evening, the crew gathered on the observation deck. There was a sense of tension, yes, but also excitement. Humans had faced countless challenges on Earth, on Mars, and in space. They had survived against odds that seemed impossible. This, a deadly alien raceway, would be no different. Sarah leaned against the railing, looking at the flickering stars. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" "Every day," Lena replied. "But we prepare for it. We plan for it. And we improvise when the plan fails. That's what makes us human," Ravi added. "And maybe, just maybe, we'll turn this mistake into something remarkable." A soft hum came from the Pioneer's engines, steady and reliable. The ship had been quiet, almost peaceful, but beneath that calm was a current of energy, a spark of human ingenuity and courage. Somewhere in the dark expanse of space, the Ricari fleet was moving closer. Their scout had returned to report. The deadliest race in the galaxy was preparing for confrontation. And yet, for the first time, humans felt a quiet confidence. They weren't just an underdog. They were unpredictable, clever, adaptable, and for the first time, humanity understood that these traits, not sheer firepower, might be their greatest strength. As the Pioneer drifted in the uncharted sector, Lena gave the final order for the day: rest when you can, prepare when you must. Tomorrow, we show them that humans are not weak. Tomorrow we begin the game. The crew dispersed, some to rest, others to continue experiments. The ship hummed softly, alive with human ingenuity. Outside, the stars glittered like silent witnesses to the beginning of an extraordinary story. The void of space stretched endlessly, a black ocean dotted with distant suns. On the bridge of the HSS Pioneer, Captain Lena Harris stood silently, her eyes scanning the instruments. The warning lights blinked faintly, signaling the approach of something massive. "Captain," Lieutenant Amir Castillo said, his voice tight. "Sensors confirm multiple contacts."
"The fleet?"
"It's the Vrikari. And it's large, much larger than we expected." Lena nodded, her calm exterior masking a mixture of determination and caution. "Keep calm. This is what we prepared for. Everything we've done so far has led to this moment." The view screen displayed a formation of sleek, angular ships, moving with a precision that made the human crew uneasy. The Vrikari fleet was formidable, hundreds of vessels, each bristling with weaponry far beyond human standards. The Pioneer looked like a small toy against such an armada. Ravi, the ship's chief engineer, leaned over a console, analyzing the Vrikari patterns. "They're moving in standard attack formations. Straightforward but rigid. If we predict them, we can exploit their patterns." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Then that's exactly what we'll do." The first engagement began without warning. A single Vrikari scout approached aggressively, firing precision pulses that tested the Pioneer's shields. The crew reacted quickly, activating defensive maneuvers and deploying holographic decoys. "Scouts don't always attack first," Sarah Kim explained, her fingers flying across the communication console. "They probe, they test. They're seeing what we're capable of." Lena nodded. "Then let's give them an answer they won't forget." The Pioneer twisted and darted between holographic projections, creating the illusion of multiple ships. The Vrikari pulse fired at what they thought was the human vessel, only to strike empty space. Each time they recalculated, the Pioneer had moved again, unpredictable and elusive. Ravi couldn't hide his excitement. "They can't follow us. Every move we make, they miscalculate." "This is incredible," Amir grinned. "Never underestimate human improvisation. Even with worse technology, we make things work." The Vrikari commander Zelthar observed the situation from the flagship's bridge. His sharp eyes noted the Pioneer's strange maneuvers. "They are unusual," Zelthar said to his officers. "They do not follow the rules of engagement we understand. They are unpredictable. Adapt," the Vrikari recalculated. Hundreds of small strikes, feints, and maneuvers were deployed to corner the human ship. But with every adjustment, the Pioneer responded in a new and unexpected way. The humans were thinking differently, creatively, boldly, and that threw off the Vrikari entirely. Back on the Pioneer, Lena watched the screen as her crew executed a daring plan. "Ravi, initiate the energy redistribution," she ordered. "Amir, plot a trajectory behind the asteroid cluster. Sarah, send the false fleet decoy in multiple directions." The ship responded to each command like a well-oiled machine. Power surged into the engines, shields shifted, and holographic projections shimmered across the void. The Pioneer vanished from the Vrikari sensors, only to appear moments later in an entirely different location. Ravi laughed quietly. "They can't keep up. Every calculation they make, we're already 2 steps ahead," Sarah added. "It's not just technology. It's the human factor. They don't understand our unpredictability." Lena's face softened into a faint smile. "Exactly. Let's keep it that way." The Vrikari fleet, frustrated, escalated. Heavy cruisers moved into firing positions, trying to force the Pioneer into a corner. The humans didn't panic. They used the asteroid field as cover, weaving in and out of space rocks with precision that surprised even the AI. "Captain," Amir said, "if we can draw them here, we can use the gravitational pull to our advantage. It might slow them down, make them collide, or overcorrect." Lena nodded. "Do it. It's risky, but it's our best shot." The Pioneer darted into the asteroid cluster. The Vrikari, relentless but rigid, followed. One cruiser miscalculated and clipped a large asteroid, forcing a recalculation. Another had to abort its firing sequence to avoid collision. The humans, flexible and adaptive, moved smoothly around the obstacles, exploiting every opportunity. Hours passed, the battle a tense game of cat and mouse. The Vrikari were powerful, precise, and merciless, but the humans had something they could not predict: creativity, improvisation, and courage. Each successful maneuver reinforced the crew's confidence. Ravi couldn't help but cheer quietly. "Every move we make, they're learning nothing." They expected fear. They expected hesitation. They got cleverness, Sarah smiled. "They respect efficiency, but humans aren't efficient. We're adaptable. That throws them off." Lena, calm as ever, watched the fleet on the view screen. Remember, crew, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to survive and make them respect us. Outthink, outmaneuver, but do not overreach. Then came the moment of opportunity. One of the Ricari command ships overextended its position while attempting to cut off the Pioneer's path. Lena seized the chance. Ravi, power the forward pulse field, she commanded. Amir, guide us through the asteroid gap. Sarah, reinforce decoy holograms. The Pioneer surged forward, invisible among illusions and asteroid shadows. The Ricari ship fired blindly, its weapons striking empty space. For the first time, the humans had positioned themselves not just defensively, but offensively, controlling the flow of the encounter without firing a destructive shot. On the Ricari flagship, Zelthar's face darkened. They are not like others. They do not fear. They do not follow logic we understand. Adaptation. They have it in abundance. Continue the pursuit, but caution. For the first time in centuries, the Ricari hesitated. They were powerful, yes, but the humans' bold, creative tactics made them pause, reconsider, and respect an enemy they had assumed would be weak. Back on the Pioneer, the crew felt a surge of exhilaration. The first engagement had ended without casualties, without destruction, yet it had been a victory. The humans had survived against the deadliest race in known space, and they had done so using brains over brawn. Lena allowed herself a small smile. This is just the beginning, she said, but it proves something important. Humans are not predictable, humans do not fear, and humans can win in ways no one expects. Ravi clapped a hand on the captain's shoulder. Captain, we didn't just survive. We sent a message. The Ricari now know that humans are clever, Sarah laughed softly. I think clever might be the understatement of the millennium. Amir leaned back in his chair. And we did it without firing a single offensive shot. That's human ingenuity at work. As the Pioneer moved away from the asteroid field, the crew began analyzing the encounter. They had learned the Ricari's tactics, studied their reaction times, and observed their tendencies. Every observation gave humanity an edge, a way to survive the next confrontation and perhaps even dictate the terms of future encounters. Lena knew the road ahead would be long and dangerous. The Ricari fleet would return larger and more prepared, but now humanity had demonstrated a fundamental truth: they were not weak. They were unpredictable, creative, and courageous, and in a galaxy that had never truly respected humans, that was more dangerous than any weapon. That night, the crew gathered on the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the drama unfolding in the void. They will come back, Sarah said softly. Stronger, smarter. And we'll be ready, Lena replied. Not because we have the strongest ships, but because we have something they cannot predict. Something they cannot control. Us. Humanity. Ravi added, I like that. Humans. Chaos wrapped in brilliance. Amir chuckled. I prefer unpredictable, adaptable, and occasionally brilliant. Works for me. The crew laughed quietly, tension eased by camaraderie and shared triumph. Outside, the Ricari fleet retreated temporarily, but their sensors had recorded every move. The humans' cleverness was noted, respected, and feared. The Pioneer drifted quietly through space, victorious in the first engagement, ready to face whatever came next. Humanity had survived. Humanity had outsmarted the deadliest race in the galaxy. And humanity was just beginning to show the galaxy what it was capable of. The first contact had ended. The first victory had been claimed. And for the first time, humans knew they could not be underestimated. The Pioneer sailed through the empty expanse of space, its engines whispering against the silence of the void. Captain Lena Harris stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the star-strewn darkness. For a moment there was calm, but calm was a fragile illusion in the presence of the Ricari. Captain, said Lieutenant Amir Castillo, pointing to the sensor readings, we're picking up multiple fleets moving in from different sectors. They've called reinforcements. This is bigger than before. They've realized we aren't just a single ship. They want to test us thoroughly. Lena took a deep breath. Good, let them come. We've learned a lot already and we can keep learning. Prepare the crew for full engagement. I want every system ready. Ravi Singh, the engineer, leaned over his console, adjusting the energy shields and power distribution. We've made a lot of upgrades since the first encounter. Holographic decoys, maneuvering thrusters, adaptive shields. They'll be in for a surprise. They expect brute force, but we'll give them cleverness instead. Sarah Kim, the communications officer, frowned. They're sending messages too. Coded threats, but nothing direct. I think they're observing, testing us psychologically now. Trying to understand our behavior before attacking fully. Lena nodded. Exactly. And that's where humans excel. Let's give them a puzzle they cannot solve. The Pioneer entered a sector dotted with asteroid fields, nebula clouds, and derelict stations. The humans' plan was to use the environment to their advantage. The Ricari fleet was powerful, precise, and relentless, but it moved with a predictability that the humans could exploit. Captain, Amir said, pointing to the sensors, if we lure them through the nebula, it will scramble their long-range targeting systems. They rely on calculations and precision. Clouds of charged particles will interfere with that. Do it, Lena ordered. But carefully. We're not just fighting to survive. We're showing them the human factor. Hours passed as the Pioneer executed its daring maneuvers. Holographic decoys created the illusion of multiple human ships. The Ricari, disciplined and precise, fired carefully only to find empty space. Their sensors tried to differentiate real ships from illusions, but humans kept changing tactics, exploiting gaps in their strategy. Ravi's voice was calm, but excited. They don't know which is real and which isn't. Every time they lock on, we've already moved. Humans think differently. That's why they're struggling, Sarah added. They're trying to predict our decisions. But humans don't follow patterns. Every choice is flexible, every move adaptable. That's why they're hesitating. Lena looked at the view screen, watching the Ricari cruiser fleet react to the decoys. This is exactly what I wanted. They are learning, slowly. But they will never fully understand us. That's the human advantage. Meanwhile, the Ricari High Command observed from their flagship. Zelthar's angular form hovered over the control console, analyzing the Pioneer's movements. They are unlike anything we have seen, he said. Their behavior is illogical yet effective. They survive against odds that should be impossible. Another officer replied, Commander, our forces are fully equipped. Our calculations should guarantee success. Why are they still unscathed? Zelthar's voice was low and deliberate. Because they are humans. Their unpredictability is their weapon. We must adapt or we will lose. And adaptation is slow for us. Back on the Pioneer, the crew continued to exploit every advantage. Lena had them use asteroid fields to hide and strike, while nebula clouds interfered with the Ricari sensors. Holographic decoys drew fire away from the real ship, while adaptive shields absorbed energy attacks. Ravi's hands flew over the console. I've rerouted extra power to the shields, Captain. If they hit us head-on, we can withstand it. Amir plotted a course that led the Pioneer behind a cluster of large asteroids, forcing the Ricari ships to split their formations. They can't coordinate efficiently in this environment, Amir explained. We can isolate small groups and outmaneuver them one at a time. Sarah's fingers danced over her console. I'm sending multiple false fleet signals in different directions. If they follow, they'll waste resources trying to intercept ghosts. Lena nodded approvingly. This is how humans fight. Not just with firepower, but with strategy, creativity, and thinking 2 steps ahead. As the Pioneer moved through the dangerous terrain, the crew noticed something remarkable. The Ricari, normally cold and precise, were beginning to hesitate. Every maneuver the humans made forced the enemy to reconsider their calculations, wasting precious time and energy. They're hesitant, Ravi said quietly. I didn't think they could hesitate. They always act with perfect precision. Sarah smiled. Humans have that effect. We're flexible, we adapt. They can't fully anticipate what we'll do next. Lena's eyes gleamed. Exactly. That's why the galaxy has underestimated us for so long, and now they're learning the hard way. The Ricari tried to regain control, deploying their most advanced ships to flank the Pioneer. But humans were ready. The ship weaved through asteroids, used the nebula to scramble sensors, and deployed decoy projections. Each attack from the Ricari was countered not by raw strength, but by clever tactics and unpredictability. Ravi grinned as he adjusted energy outputs. We're not just surviving. We're controlling the engagement. We're the hunters in this game, Amir nodded. And the Ricari don't like being hunted. Even Sarah, normally calm and precise, allowed herself a small smile. It's like a chess game, but one side keeps changing the rules mid-match. And we're winning. Zelthar watched, growing increasingly frustrated. They are not a species to be underestimated. They use creativity as a weapon. Logic fails against them because they do not follow predictable patterns. Adaptation is their strength. For the first time, the Vrikari fleet hesitated completely. They were powerful, but the humans' unpredictability had thrown them off balance. Zelthar realized that brute force alone would not work. He had to reconsider strategy, a rare occurrence for his species. On the Pioneer, Lena addressed her crew. This is why humans survive. Not because we have the largest ships or the strongest weapons, but because we adapt, we think creatively, and we never give up. We don't just fight battles. We solve problems, Ravi added, and they don't like it one bit. Every move we make makes them pause. Every choice we take forces them to rethink their assumptions. Sarah smiled. They assumed we'd be weak, predictable. They thought we'd surrender or panic. They were wrong. Amir leaned back in his chair, finally relaxing slightly. They're learning that humans are not easy prey. We're not just survivors, we're unpredictable, clever, and formidable. As the Vrikari fleet retreated slightly to regroup, the Pioneer used the opportunity to survey the battlefield. Sensors showed that the enemy had wasted fuel and energy, expended missiles on decoys, and overextended several cruisers. Humanity had not destroyed them, but they had inflicted strategic confusion, a psychological victory that mattered just as much. Lena allowed herself a rare smile. We've done it. We've shown them the human factor. They respect cleverness, but they can't anticipate it, and that is our advantage. Ravi leaned on the console, satisfied. We've survived, adapted, and outsmarted the deadliest race in the galaxy, and all without unnecessary destruction. That's human ingenuity in action, Sarah added, and they know now. They will think twice before underestimating us again. Amir chuckled quietly. Next time they might even hesitate before attacking. We've set a precedent. Humans do not follow expected patterns. We fight differently, and that difference is deadly in its own way. Lena turned to the observation window. Stars glimmered cold and distant, but humanity's presence now carried weight. The Vrikari had realized humans were no ordinary species. The galaxy had learned something new. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unafraid. And that knowledge would shape every encounter to come. As the Pioneer continued through the sector, the crew knew the next engagement would be even more dangerous. The Vrikari would return stronger and more prepared, but the humans were ready. They had learned the most important lesson. Adaptability and cleverness could triumph where brute force alone could not. Lena stood silently on the bridge, watching the stars. They will come back, she said softly, and when they do, we'll be ready, not just to survive, but to show them what humans are truly capable of. Ravi, Amir, and Sarah joined her. Together they looked out into the endless void, confident and resolute. Humanity had survived another encounter, had outsmarted the deadliest race in known space, and had proven that the human factor, unpredictability, creativity, and courage was a force that could not be ignored. The void of space was quiet for the moment, but the calm was temporary. Captain Lena Harris stood on the bridge of the HSS Pioneer, staring at the stars. The Pioneer had survived its first engagements against the Vrikari, a species feared across countless galaxies for their precision and ruthlessness. But the deadliest race in the galaxy was returning, and this time there would be no scout. Captain, Lieutenant Amir Castillo said, pointing at the sensors, they've brought the full fleet. Hundreds of ships, every class, battleships, cruisers, fighters. They're approaching our sector. Lena nodded, her jaw set. Good, let them come. We've learned from every encounter so far. We've adapted and we've survived. Now it's time to show them exactly what humans are capable of. Ravi Singh, the chief engineer, was already at his console, powering up every system. We've enhanced the shields, upgraded the decoys, and optimized engine performance. Even our older vessels can move unpredictably. They'll struggle to predict our tactics this time. Sarah Kim, the communications officer, monitored incoming Vrikari signals. They're trying to intimidate us. Threats, warnings, coded messages. But I think they're also curious. They're learning. They respect efficiency and ingenuity. That's where we have an advantage. Lena's eyes narrowed. Exactly. Humans don't just follow rules. We create solutions, we adapt. That's our strength. Let's make sure they see it. The Ricari fleet entered the sector, moving with deadly precision. Their ships glimmered like metallic predators in the starlight, bristling with weapons and sensors. Unlike previous encounters, there was no hesitation. This was an all-out assessment. Their goal was simple: overwhelm, dominate, and eliminate the Pioneer. Lena addressed her crew. Remember, we are not here to destroy them, but to survive and outsmart them. They will underestimate our unpredictability. That's where we win. Every move counts. Stay focused. Ravi tapped his console furiously. The asteroid field nearby, the nebula clouds, we can use both to scramble their targeting systems. If we move through it strategically, we can create confusion. They're brilliant but predictable. Amir plotted a course through the field. We'll lure their smaller ships into traps while keeping the Pioneer hidden. The bigger ships will overextend if they follow. It's risky, but we can make it work. Sarah projected multiple false fleets on the sensors. They won't know which is real and which isn't. Every time they commit, we'll adapt and stay one step ahead. Lena's gaze swept over her crew. Good. Let's begin. The first engagement of the battle began with the Ricari scout striking aggressively. Energy pulses tore through the void, but every strike was met with evasive maneuvers, decoys, and adaptive shields. The Pioneer darted through the asteroid field, weaving unpredictably. Holographic projections multiplied its presence, creating the illusion of a small fleet. They're firing at ghosts, Ravi said with a grin. They can't tell the real ship from the decoys. Amir laughed quietly. And every wrong shot drains their energy. They're strong, yes, but wasteful when misled. That's our advantage, Sarah added. And the Pioneer is learning, adapting, predicting their reactions. They can't keep up with us. This is human strategy in action. Lena nodded. Exactly. Humans don't fight like anyone else. Let's make them realize that fully. Hours passed as the Pioneer executed its daring tactics. Every movement was calculated yet unpredictable. They used asteroid cover to avoid heavy attacks, nebula interference to scramble sensors, and decoys to draw fire. The Ricari, powerful as they were forced to hesitate, recalculating after every misstep. Even their command ship, Zelthar's flagship, was challenged. The human's unpredictable movements forced him to reconsider strategies he had thought foolproof. Each miscalculation cost the Ricari energy, time, and coordination. They adapt too quickly, Zelthar said, his angular face sharp with frustration. Their strategy is alien. We cannot predict them. Focus on the larger ships. Do not waste resources on illusions. But even with orders to ignore the decoys, the Pioneer used them to funnel the fleet into vulnerable positions. Human ingenuity exploited gaps, weaknesses, and overextensions. It was a battle fought not with sheer firepower, but with brains, creativity, and courage. In the midst of the chaos, Lena saw an opening. A Ricari cruiser overextended while trying to cut off the Pioneer's path. Ravi, energy pulse redirection, Lena ordered. Amir, guide us around that cruiser. Sarah, reinforce decoy projections in multiple locations. The Pioneer surged forward, invisible among holographic illusions and asteroids. The Ricari ship fired blindly, hitting nothing but empty space. For the first time, humanity controlled the battlefield completely, dictating the pace and position without firing a destructive shot. Ravi cheered quietly. We're not just surviving, we're leading the fight. They can't predict our moves. Amir smiled. They expected fear, hesitation, surrender. Instead, we're showing creativity and courage, Sarah added, and they respect it. Even the deadliest race in the galaxy respects cleverness. Zelthar watched helplessly as the Pioneer evaded, outmaneuvered, and misled his fleet. They are not like any other species, he said, voice low and dangerous. They survive where others would fail. They fight differently, and that is dangerous. The Ricari fleet hesitated for the first time in history. They were powerful, precise, and relentless, but the humans' unpredictability had thrown them off balance. Zelthar realized that brute force alone could not win. He had to reconsider strategy, a rare, uncomfortable process for his species. Back on the Pioneer, Lena gathered her crew on the observation deck after the first phase of engagement. Stars shimmered outside like distant witnesses. We've done it, Lena said quietly. We've survived, and we've forced the Ricari to respect the human factor. We didn't just survive, we controlled the engagement. That is what makes humans dangerous. Ravi grinned. We've outsmarted them. They can't predict us. They underestimated creativity, courage, and adaptability. That's us in a nutshell, Sarah smiled. They assumed we'd panic, surrender, or follow patterns. They were wrong, and they now know they can't control us easily. Amir leaned back. Next time they'll hesitate. They'll think twice before attacking. We've proven humans are unpredictable, and unpredictable is powerful. Days passed as the Ricari fleet regrouped, recalculating, reassessing. The Pioneer continued to move through the galaxy, using intelligence and clever tactics to avoid direct destruction. The humans had learned more about the Ricari, their patterns, weaknesses, and reliance on predictability. Every encounter gave the Pioneer an edge, and across the galaxy other species began to notice. Word spread of the small human ship outsmarting the deadliest race in known space. Humans were no longer seen as weak or inferior. They were clever, adaptive, and fearless. When the Ricari returned fully prepared, they found a different scenario. Humans had used the time to coordinate with other nearby alien races, establishing minor alliances, shared intelligence, and clever traps. The Ricari were surprised to find that humans had turned every challenge into an advantage. Lena's strategy was simple: survival, adaptation, and cleverness. Each human maneuver was unpredictable, each move carefully considered yet flexible. The Ricari fleet, despite their overwhelming power, could not dominate or destroy a species that fought like no other. The final standoff occurred near a massive asteroid belt. The Ricari commander, Zelthar, faced a human captain who had turned a mistake, an accidental provocation, into a story that would echo through galaxies. Humans, Zelthar said through communication channels, you are unlike any species we have encountered. You survive through creativity, unpredictability, and courage. We will retreat for now, but we will remember this. Lena's voice was calm and confident. We survive because we are human. We fight not just with weapons, but with brains, courage, and adaptability. And we will always be ready. As the Ricari fleet withdrew, the Pioneer's crew allowed themselves a rare moment of celebration. They had survived the deadliest race in the galaxy, not through sheer firepower, but through ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Humanity had proven that it was a species to be reckoned with, unpredictable, clever, and fearless. Ravi laughed quietly. We didn't just survive. We sent a message. The Ricari will think twice before underestimating humans again, Sarah added, and the galaxy is watching. We've changed the perception of humanity forever. Amir smiled. We've rewritten the rules. They expected fear, hesitation, surrender. They got strategy, courage, and unpredictability instead. Lena looked out at the stars, quiet and proud. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will never see humans the same way again. We survived. We adapted. We outsmarted the deadliest race, and that is only the start of what humanity can do. The Pioneer drifted through the endless void, victorious, clever, and prepared. Humanity had survived the impossible, reshaped the galaxy's perception, and proven that the human factor, creativity, adaptability, and courage, was a force that no species could ignore.